Assalamu alaikum and good evening. US Chief of Army Staff Zaid Hamid said that Pakistan Army believes in the stability of democracy and of the law and constitution, addressing an impressive ceremony to pay tribute to the martyred armed forces and their families on Yom-e-Shohada. He said Pakistan Army has been key to both internal and external challenges, and it has the capability to deal with the day. Chief of Army Staff boosted the morale of not only of the peace lovers of Pakistan, all flanks of armed forces, but a clear-cut message to the entire world that we stand united against internal and external aggressions of any sort. It is with the Pak Army. On the other hand, BJP is supporting Geo and objects to Pakistan minister's comments on Narendra Modi's statement about Dawood Ibrahim. In response of BJP, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif said that his government had no intention and Jung group as requested by the Ministry of Defense in the situation where no ceasefire. PTI and PAT called for protest on 11th May. Questions are arising here about national security. Today, we will discuss all the major that are floating on national and international landscape. As you know, in my show today, Zaid joins me. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Zaid Hamid. Mr. Zaid Hamid, this week we observed we paid tribute to the families of all the martyrs of Pak Armed Forces. And I got an opportunity to attend one of the Yom-e-Shohada services in Lahore. And I personally felt it was very motivating and it was a very experience seeing those families and the mothers and the wives, how they were so proud of the martyrs that they sacrificed for this country. What do you think of the Chief of Army Staff of Rahil Sharif? But before we start our conversation on here, what did our Chief of Army Staff say on the democracy, on the Kashmir, on the media role? Let's have a look at that first.
जमहूरियत के इस्तेकाम, कानून की पासदारी और बालादस्ती पर यकीन रखती है। यही वो वाहिद रास्ता है जिस पर गामजन रहकर हम तमाम ममालिक की सफ में खड़े हो सकते हैं। मुल्क के तमाम अदारे एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर इस निज़ाम की कामयाबी के लिए हमा वक्त रहें। पाकिस्तान की मसल्ह फौज मुल्क की तरक्की और खुशहाली के लिए हमेशा काम करती रहेंगी। पाक फौज दहशत खात्मे और अमन की बहाली के लिए हर कोशिश की हिमायत करे। ये हमारी दिली ख्वाहिश है कि पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ अमल तमाम अनासर गैर मशरूत तौर पर मुल्क के आइन की मुकम्मल अतात कबूल करें और कौमी धारे में वापस आएं। बसूरत दीगर रियासत के बागियों से निपटने के लिए शक की कोई गुंजाइश नहीं। पाकिस्तान की गयूर अवाम और फौज पाकिस्तान ऐसे अनासर को कैफरे किरदार तक भी भरपूर सलाहियत रखते हैं। कश्मीर पाकिस्तान की शाहराग है। ये एक बैनुल अक़वामी है जिस पर अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा की करारदादें मौजूद और इसका कश्मीरी अवाम की मांगों के मुताबिक हल करना इलाकाई सलामती और पायदार अमन के लिए नागुज़ीर है। कश्मीरी अवाम की कुर्बानियां रायगा नहीं जाएंगी। फौज अमन की ख्वाह है, मगर किसी भी किस्म की जारियत का जवाब देने के लिए हमा वक्त तैयार भी है। रियासत के तमाम अदारों के साथ साथ तमीर में सिविल सोसाइटी और मीडिया का किरदार भी काबिल तारीफ है। मीडिया ने हर मोड़ पर वतन अजीज की सलामती के हक में अवामी राय को हमवार करने में अहम किरदार अदा किया है। मीडिया की आज़ादी और जिम्मेदाराना सहाफत पर यकीन रखते हैं और इनकी कुर्बानियों को सराहते हैं।
Yes, Mr. Zaid Hamid, as you saw that General Rahil emphasized 4 major groups. One was the support for democracy, second was handling the terrorism, third was the Kashmir issue, and fourth was the media possibility. Let's touch base all one by one. If we start with the media, praise the responsible media, the role and the sacrifices done by the responsible media. But do you think that this much statement, as far as media is concerned, is good from General Raheel Sharif, especially something big as of allegations on DGI happened from a certain media group. You think this much is good enough from a Chief of Army Staff to support its ISI?
You see, the short answer is that this was not good enough. General Raheel has to be evaluated in context of the battle in Pakistan right now between the state organs, between the armed forces and a segment of a media. And the army has just a week ago has given in writing that a segment of media is hostile to the nation and is waging an information war against the very state of Pakistan. And in the context of that battle that is going on within the armed forces nation right now, the entire nation is up in arms against a segment of the media. This particular General Raheel was actually very weak. You have to consider one thing, that General Raheel's first public address after taking charge as Chief of the Army Staff. He is not a politician, he is a soldier. And wherever the matters of soldier, he was strong enough, he was firm enough. When it came to dealing with the terrorists, his state solid represented the ethos of the Pakistani nation, that we would deal with them. We would, if the government wants to negotiate with them under the ambit of the constitution, fine. Otherwise, we'll deal with them with sword, and our statement was firm, good enough. Nation loved it, we appreciate it. When it came to dealing with India, his statement was again very firm, very solid.
Almost the same as of Qaeda.
Of our founding father, Qaeda, calling Kashmir as our jugular vein and saying there will be no Kashmir. Kashmir should be decided on the basis of plebiscite according to the wishes of the people. And India tries to be aggressive in the valley, we will respond again iron with iron. That response again, wherever a general had to speak in those two matters where the military was involved, he was firm, he was solid, we appreciate that. But again, in democracy and politics and in matters of handling the media, he was overcautious. Because the fact of the matter is that, you see, the fact of the matter, as I said, it was his first public address, and he wanted to be correct. But as Chief of Army Staff, we expected him to be more firm, more against the components of media which are actually treacherous and anti-state. Today, very newspaper against whom the Geo Group, the Jung Group, against whom Army has sent a reference through the Ministry of Defense to the rest of the government saying that this media house should be banned, should be dismantled because it is actually waging an information war against the state. That media house celebrated this speech, saying that Chief of Army Staff did not criticize us, did not indict us again for our crimes.
So what kind of message are we seeing here, Chief of Army Staff, that his defense ministry has found a reference through PEMRA, but at the same time, Army Chief himself is being lenient on that segment of media?
That's in the margin here, that it was his first public address, and he's a soldier, he's not a politician. He tried to be, and to be honest, made a mess of it. But the fact of the matter is, he should have been a soldier when it comes to handling the media also, and especially when it comes to sending signals to democracy also. The fact is that every state organ is fighting with each other now. And he said that all the state organs are united in making Pakistan strong. Again, that statement, he should have been very firm, because judiciary is crossing the limits here. The political democratic government is limits here. The defense minister who was sitting in the function has actually been boycotted by the armed forces because of his vehement attacks against the armed forces.
So what you're saying here is that the chief does not represent the exact feelings of what's happening inside the army?
Is that as far as I said, in matters of war are concerned, as it stands towards India in matters of Kashmir and war against the TTP terrorists was concerned, it was solid. It represented
his words, if you allow me, his words were all elements fighting against the state should traditionally submit to the country's constitution and come back to the national mainstream. Otherwise, the military, with the support of people, will take them to the task.
See, as far as handling the terrorists and the militants and the Kashmir issue in India was concerned, he was spot on, solid, like an army chief should be. But where an army chief tries to be a politician, he's very good at it. Again, I would give him the margin, because that was his first public address. The nation is in rage. The armed forces are in rage. He himself has sent out a letter just last week saying that Geo Group should be banned in the army, should be dismantled in Pakistan Army because of being an anti-state, hostile media group. And when this is the state going on, the whole country is supporting the armed forces against the group, Geo Group. So he should have said it more solidly.
But again, Mr. Zaid Hamid, he appreciated only the responsible media.
Agreed. You see,
so that does not say he appreciated. He talked about responsible media only.
That's exactly what we are saying. He said responsible media. But he should have gone a step further, saying that we will not allow version in the name of journalism. That sentence should have come. The way he spoke to terrorists, saying, we appreciate talks, but we will not accept a war against the state. Similarly, because right now the country is facing war on two axes. Militancy. And the other axis is information war. And the whole speech lenient on those militants who were waging a war through journalism, propaganda, and information.
But don't you think that Raheel Sharif's statement saying this, that Pak will safeguard not only the territorial integrity, but it will safeguard the ideal integrity of Pakistan as well, with the strength from the people of Pakistan? So he did mention about safeguarding the ideological integrity as well.
You see, this is Pakistan Army. That Pakistan Army is the defenders of the geographical and the ideological frontiers of the nation. And that's of our armed forces. That's why the nation supports them. Because no state organ actually takes this as to defend the ideological and the geographic frontiers. The Pakistan Army is why you find the most popular, most organized, most disciplined, most loved institution in the country. For the reason, because people love their ideological foundations. People love faith. People love Islam as the founding stone of this nation. And whoever says that frontier as well would be loved and respected, and General Raheel did say, all army chiefs have been saying that. But my complaint is to him that this was his first public address, and there's a fierce battle going on. The most ruthless battle that is going on right now is against a media group. He should have pointedly made it very clear that Pakistani armed forces would not version in the name of journalism. He should have repeated the words that they sent in the reference to that particular media group.
But Mr. Zaid Hamid, don't you think that that would have been coming from an army chief for just one certain media group?
See, the army chief spoke.
We are the seventh biggest army of the world. Army chief also spoke the TTP. That's one militant group. But and of course BLA also, the Balochistan Liberation Army, without naming them. But he did made to those militant groups which are fighting against the state. And similarly, army should now, see, this is my complaint with the army, is that they have still not realized the lethality, the dangers which are posed by the information war. There is no as free journalism. Every media group in the world is towing some line. Some are in Pakistan, some media groups are following the patriotic lines. Some groups are actually towing the hostile line. And they should be dealt as hostile enemy. As they should be made very clear. They should have been made very clear by the general at that particular. So many officers and men who have died in Pakistan because of the treason of that particular group. And that should have been taken to task harshly. The way he took to task the militant groups who killed so many of our officers, but the environment for their war has been created. Psychological perception has been done by that particular group who should have been destroyed, taken to task, good and proper. Mr. Zaid, a break here. After we come back from the break, we would like to know what New York Times have published against that group, and then further we would like to discuss about the U.S. State Department annual report as well. We will be back after a short break. Welcome back. We're talking about what's happening with the certain media group in Pakistan and how things are proceeding. And we would like to know why New York Times have mentioned about certain info regarding that certain media group at the time. Why India's former External Affairs Minister and BJP leader Yashwant Sinha asked Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to save Jio TV from a complete closure. In response to Yashwant Sinha, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said that his government had no intention of banning Jio and Jung Group as requested by the Ministry of Defense. Mr. Zaid Hamid, we have progress and development happening in this direction of this certain media group Jio. Let's first start from New York. New York Times has said that Jio has been providing the inside information for the killings of the other journalists. In fact, Jio's employee was involved in a Mehran base attack as well. How do you see this?
See, by the New York Times is a damning indictment of Jio and verifies every word that we have been saying about that media group, that it is infiltrated by foreign hostile secret services. The New York Times has said it very categorically that Jio Group is compromised by the militant and religious sectarian extremists, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. And Jio has been involved as well in attack on Pakistan Navy's Mehran base as well. The Jios have been killed from the insider information which were provided to the terrorists from Jio, to the militant terrorist group to assassinate various journalists. And Jio managed about it as well. But they do not take any action against those militants and terrorist organizations which killed their journalists. This is a damning indictment. And the fact of the matter is that this is precisely the reason why now Pakistan Army has declared Jio hostile anti-state media group. And the fact is even verified by the fact that Indian foreign minister, next foreign minister or foreign secretary, who is now running with the BJP's election campaign, Yashwant Sinha, has actually had the audacity to call Pakistani Prime Minister that ISI's operations or action against Jio Group should be stopped, and Jio should be defended, and Hamid Mir should be given security.
So and why Yashwant Sinha is such a warm feelings towards Hamid Mir and Jio? But before we go and get your comment, I would like to have the report being shown to our viewers on state and media coalition.
Jio Television is facing a legal battle with country's top agency, ISI's former External Affairs Minister and BJP leader Yashwant Sinha has Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to save Jio TV from a complete closure. He made his demand in a letter to PM Nawaz Sharif while voicing support for Pakistan journalist Hamid Mir. Sinha also described the move to cancel Jio license as a backward and retrograde step decision by the Intelligence and Pakistan's Defense Ministry. In his statement, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif said that his government had no intention of banning Jio and Jung Group as a request of defense. Nawaz Sharif said that the media was playing a positive role in Pakistan and every reason for an independent media such as Jung and Jio to continue without any forcible shutdowns. The Prime Minister said that since he came, his government had not imposed any kind of restrictions on the media and it believed freedom of expression. On the other hand, Amnesty International report says that journalists are consistently living under death threats, harassment and other violence being carried out by intelligence agencies, political parties and military. The report said that since the restoration of democracy in Pakistan in 2008, there have been 34 documented cases in which journalists were killed due to their thing.
Yes, Mr. Zaid Hamid, as you saw, why is our Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif having a soft corner for Jio? Unless and until, like so far, we haven't seen the investigations results, we haven't seen the Commission's final words as well. Why is Prime Minister already having a for a soft corner towards Jio?
You see, before that, you saw how hardcore Hindu Zionists are actually putting pressure on the Pakistani government, on Nawaz Sharif, to protect and defend Jio against Pakistan's Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces and the army. That's insanity. This is, again, damning indictment of Jio.
And Prime Minister kind of agreed on that.
Instead of Pakistani Prime Minister responding to the Indians and saying, back off, doesn't matter, we'll do what we feel like, Pakistani Prime Minister is actually obliging Zionists, saying that we will not ban Jio, and Jio is doing a very positive work. Jio is doing very positive work for the Indians, for the Nawaz Sharif himself, because Imran Khan, as he said, that
his allegations of Jio being the media cell for PMLN.
The Jio Group is actually the PMLN, but Imran has fallen short here. Jio Group is also the media cell for intelligence raw, for Indian establishment, for Indian hardcore Zionist parties, BJP, Congress. And that is why you find every snake in the world, every Zionist enemy of Pakistan, Every enemy of armed forces and ISI is ganging up to defend and protect Jio and Hamid Mir. And that is enough evidence to prove that the step taken by the ISI and the Army Ministry of Defense against Jio are not just legitimate, but are also necessary in this environment of war. When Pakistan is facing an existential war, we cannot allow hostile media wing of enemy state to operate within Pakistani airspace.
Zaid Hamid, why has Hamid Mir refused to give his statement in the ISI?
You see, that's what you are saying. Jio Group are actually anti-state elements. They are the worst enemies of Pakistani state and the armed forces and the ISI. They consider ISI as an enemy organization. Who would consider ISI an enemy organization? No Pakistani would. But Israelis and CIA and TTP, militant terrorist organizations, they consider ISI an agency. And Jio Group considers ISI. And this is exactly what the Jio Group has. They have, after the reference sent to the PEMRA, Pakistan's Media Regulatory Authority of Defense, Jio Group has again appealed to the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Indians are appealing to the Prime Minister. Jio Group is appealing to the Prime Minister. Everybody wants the law to be bypassed. Everybody wants the law should not be implemented. Everybody wants that reference by the Pakistani armed forces should be rejected. And Jio should be protected through the dictatorial powers of the Prime Minister.
But you've seen the Prime Minister has already inclined towards the Jio Group and it's continuing. So how do we expect a fair decision coming from the Prime Minister?
You see, fact of the matter is that the decision in the hands of the Prime Minister. It's a decision which should be taken by PEMRA, Pakistan's Media Regulatory. Its laws are defined. It's an autonomous body. Its laws have been violated.
If Hamid Mir is not a statement in the presence of ISI, then how would the investigation proceed?
They would not proceed. See, the fact of the matter is, whatever happened to Hamid Mir was actually a facade, a drama created by the Jio themselves. Because first they put an allegation on the DGISI, but then they refused to register an first investigation report against the DGISI or even against the ISI. So they're refusing FIR. They're refusing to participate in the investigations. They are refusing to go to face the investigations in the Media Regulatory Authority. It is absolutely very clear. Now, once their cover is blown, once they have seen the reaction in the nation against them, they are trying to hide behind the Indian intelligence, and hide behind the political government, and hide behind the Amnesty International and CIA to protect them now. But this will not happen. Pakistan Army has taken a stand, standing on it.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, as you mentioned about the Amnesty International report, let me tell you what the international report says, that journalists in Pakistan are under siege from militant agencies and political parties. And then the report further says that the spy agents implicated in several abductions, torture and killings of journalists, but no ISI official has ever been held to account, allowing it to effectively beyond the reach of the law. So how do you see this report of Amnesty International?
You see, international organizations have, like Amnesty, like you saw the Indians before that, the CIA, all these have been ganging up against the ISI. It's not new. Name an agency in media or in national security of any foreign hostile country, they talk, because ISI is the front line of defense for Pakistan. Everybody knows, even confirmed it, that there are militants within Jio who are providing insider information to journalists. Why didn't Amnesty International speak about that when New York Times confirms it? When New York Times,
Wali Babar's attack.
Everybody knows who killed Wali Babar. The killers and the murderers are actually partners, a coalition party in Sindh right now. Jio, they know each and every killer and terrorist who works in the city and has assassinated a journalist. And the Amnesty would speak about it, neither the Jio would complain about it, despite knowing fully well that there are militants who have infiltrated the Jio organization itself and providing insider information on the assassinations. So the fact of the matter is that it's the organization itself which is suspect, which is culpable, which has been declared by the Pakistani armed forces for the first time in Pakistan's history. The group has been declared anti-state. They are declared a platform for waging hostile information war against the very state of Pakistan. Jio Group is responsible in Pakistan. They are responsible for death and destruction inside Pakistan by supporting the military organizations and defaming the Pakistani armed forces, creating the wrong perception that army is people. And because of that, a segment of the society turned hostile against the army, everything orchestrated by the Jio Group. They cannot be forgiven, and that's the Chief of Army Staff did not name them or did not mention the segment of the media who are hostile and would be checked, we were disappointed. But again, it was his first public speech, and I'll give him the margin for that. But the fact is that now the actions of the armed forces should compensate for the error that was done during that speech. Jio Group banned decisively, despite the attempts by the Indian RAW and the competent political government and the international organizations and CIA to protect and defend Jio. Pakistan should not back off now.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, the reaction that we're seeing among the nation banning of Jio, and then there was a protest in UK from the expats and the overseas, and it was against Jio and it was in the favor of banning Jio. So now expats and overseas Pakistanis have also, joined this protest movement.
See, Jio is one of the biggest media groups in Pakistan. Americans and Indians have been investing heavily for 10 years, and Jio is shocked, surprised. They're stunned actually of the reaction that has come from the patriots in the social media and in the society against them. They are stunned, to be honest. The entire country is up in arms supporting the arms against Jio and demanding Jio should be banned. Pakistan Cable Operators Association, youth, everybody has decided to block Jio. Jio will probably not come in the cable, Pakistani cable network, not banned and blocked by the Pakistan Army but by the patriotic cable operators. It's happening all over the country. Expats have also joined the movement. And the fact is that every Pakistani in any corner of the world has no doubt now that, like TTP is a hostile terrorist organization fighting against the state of Pakistan backed by CIA and RAW, everybody has known that Jio is also a hostile anti-state media group doing subversion of the state in the name of journalism, and they would also be resisted by the patriots now. Patriots are resisting the militants on ground.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, I have to take a break here, and after we come back, we would like to know the response that we see from Chaudhry Nisar's on Narendra Modi. We'd like to have your comment on that as well. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. We're discussing that why BJ is supporting Jio Media Group and what is the background of Narendra Modi's statement about Dawood and the response of our Interior Minister towards this statement. Mr. Zaid Hamid, before we get to this point, what the Narendra Modi has to say about Dawood Ibrahim, and then we will get your comment.
अखबार के माध्यम से होते हैं क्या? ये चीजें अखबार में करने की है क्या? बिन लादेन के साथ अमेरिका ने प्रेस नोट लेकर के काम किया क्या? अमेरिका ने प्रेस किया कि अब हम गए हैं, हम 6 तारीख को जाएंगे, लादेन को लाएंगे, ऐसा किया था क्या कर रहे हैं लोग? मिनिमम मैच्योरिटी नहीं है।
देखिए, एनडीए की सरकार बनेगी तो जो भी अपराधी भागे हुए हैं उसको पकड़ के हम लोग लाएंगे देश के अंदर।
हमें उम्मीद है कि मोदी सरकार आएगी तो वो पाकिस्तान के आतंकवाद के खिलाफ अख्तियार करे, उसको करना चाहिए, क्योंकि देखिए 80,000 नागरिकों की जानें जा चुकी इस आतंकवाद से जो स्पॉन्सर्ड है पाकिस्तान की आईएसआई द्वारा, पाकिस्तान की सरकार की नियत के बगैर वो सब नहीं सकता।
ऑपरेशन डी के कमांडर इन चीफ खुद नरेंद्र मोदी है। ऑपरेशन डी के मालिक नरेंद्र मोदी है। दाऊद को कहां पकड़ना है, कैसे पकड़ना है और देश में कैसे, इस ऑपरेशन का पूरा खाका मोदी के दिमाग में तैयार।
Yes, Mr. Zaid Hamid, as you saw that statement that he will bring back Dawood from Pakistan if he comes to power, and that he will operation on Pakistani soil. What do you see in this comment? What's the date we should be foreseeing in this comment?
You see, we had warned you many months ago from this program that when Narendra Modi takes power in India, the entire world would be on the threat of nuclear war. It's like Hitler coming to power in Germany before the Second World War. And power, the world knew that a fascist would take power in Germany, and then rest is history. The world burnt in flames. And this is exactly what Narendra Modi is planning. We have to go, and now even a blind man can see.
Then how do you see Chaudhry, Interior Minister, reacting to Modi's statement saying that Pakistan is not a weak country and it's not such threats? Pakistani nation cannot be impressed by such irresponsible statements.
You see, Narendra has not even become a prime minister yet. But what he is threatening is that he is going to attack Pakistan, Osama bin Laden style raids, and would try to capture his wanted men that his parliamentarians are saying that they are going to crush Kashmiri resistance in Kashmir, in Muslims in India, and they would hold Pakistan responsible and they will attack Pakistan. These are belligerent, dangerous statements coming from somebody who's going to take power in India very soon at the nuclear button of the Indian Armed Forces. And Pakistani Prime Minister, as usual, has remained deaf and mute. He has not spoken a word.
But don't you think that our Interior Minister has responded pretty well?
See, our Prime Minister has actually...
But what he says is that Pakistan's effort should not be considered its weakness.
You see, lately, Pakistan's Interior Minister Chaudhry has impressed me. His statement when the Geo scandal erupted also, when all ministers were insulting and humiliating the Pakistani Armed Forces and supporting Geo, Chaudhry Nisar's statement was solid in support of the armed forces, saying that no media group can do that. What Geo has violated all the norms of morality and the law of the land. And now this is the second of, and the Pakistan has been threatened by the Indian Zionists, and the entire Pakistan government is silent. Again spoken up. Again, I would say, he has impressed me. And this is the pretty poor opinion about him, to be honest. But his last two episodes, he has taken a firm stand, and I appreciate him for that. But this is something the Prime Minister has taken. But on both occasions, against Geo and against the Hindu Zionists from India, our Prime Minister has not just remained docile, but in fact surrendered to their demands, saying that they will not ban the Indian raw warfare wing Geo Media Group in Pakistan. Pakistani Prime Minister can never say that. He must say that, especially when Pakistan's national security establishment have given a legal against a media group, saying that they are funded by the hostile enemy states and they're waging a war against the state. Pakistani Prime Minister says that we are not going to close it and appreciates the performance of a hostile media group, then actually the Prime Minister is causing treason against the state.
The Prime Minister appreciates the 8-hour broadcast in which the DGISI of the country has been a fugitive
this is what
or
we
as
are
a
saying.
criminal.
If Pakistan Information Ministry were to block any channel within minutes if it airs any abusive or controlled content. And here, for 8 hours constantly, Pakistani Armed Forces and ISI were humiliated, abused by a particular media group, and entire Pakistani government actually, they enjoyed it, they loved it. And now the Prime Minister is saying the Geo Group has not committed any crime, they will protect it, they are going to defend it. If this is democracy...
How do you see, Mr. Zaid Hamid, now that we have the statement from Prime Minister in favor of Geo, we have a weak statement from our army chief in this matter towards this media group, then how do you see the situation going? Will this be diffused in the next...
You see, the point is...
it will be back up and
the
running
point is
again?
that Pakistan Army has given in writing, and ISI is giving the Ministry of Defence to PEMRA and to the Government Information Ministry to ban and block Geo and press directives. This statement, this written reference will not be taken back. So Army is pretty firm on that. Also banned Geo in all military establishments all over the country. That again is very solid. But what is needed is that now Army should actually put its foot down and press the Minister to follow the law and Constitution. Because according to the law and the Constitution, you cannot operate in Pakistan. Pakistan is not the private property of the Prime Minister. He has to follow the law. The law says the Geo Media Group has committed an act of war, committed treason against the very Pakistan, and it's proven through the investigation of the highest security agencies of Pakistan, then Geo must be blocked. And that's where the Pakistani Army Chief must put his... He has given a soft statement against the hostile media, but his actions should be enough for the nation to see that Pakistan Army will not back down now. The treason of the Geo Group has become so obvious even to the blind, and the worst of the enemies of the Pakistani state, the Hindu Zionist of the BJP, threatening the state with war in a few weeks and few months when they take power in Pakistan, going overboard trying to defend Geo, then nobody should have any doubt on the treason of Geo.
Very questionable. Mr. Zaid Hamid, we're running out of time. I would like to touch base on another topic. The U.S. annual report has been released this Wednesday, and according to that report, Pakistani authorities did take actions against TTP, but did not take significant military action. Other groups like Haqqani Network, Afghan Taliban's Lashkar-e-Tayyiba, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. How do you see the State Department report?
You see, American strategy is to pitch Pakistani armed forces in Afghan resistance. TTP is a militant terrorist organization. Pakistan Army is fighting. TTP is not Afghan resistance. TTP has not defeated the Americans in Afghanistan. It is backed by CIA and RAW. And that is why Pakistan Army is fighting against them. But and Haqqani are actually, and Lashkar-e-Taiba are actually these groups. Lashkar-e-Taiba is fighting in Kashmir against the Indian occupation, which is a legitimate freedom movement, and this is fighting in Afghanistan to liberate their homeland against a foreign occupation, again a legitimate resistance. Pakistan Army has no reason to fight against those groups who are actually fighting against the Indians and not waging a war against the state of Pakistan. Our hands are already full. We don't have wars for the Americans against the Afghans and the Kashmiri jihadi groups. Why should we? As far as the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi is concerned, yes, that group is being protected by the Punjab government, not by the Pakistan Army, not by the ISI. Lashkar-e-Jhangvi's top leadership is actually part of the Punjab government, and they have just been elected into the Pakistan's National Assembly. So that's the political democratic process, not by the armed forces, not by the ISI.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, this report says the network of Afghan Taliban, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, they continue to find safe haven portions of Farah, KPK and Balochistan to plan operations within Pakistan and
Lashkar-e-Jhangvi is TTP. And Pakistan Army is fighting against them wherever.
But they are differentiating TTP and Lashkar-e-Taiba and Lashkar-e-Jhangvi.
But see, Americans who bag together, trying to tag together legitimate resistance groups with the terrorists so that everybody is netted together. That's not true. Pakistan is going to make distinction. For us, Taliban, Haqqani and Gulbuddin Hekmatyar and Lashkar-e-Taiba are not terrorist groups. To be honest, we say we don't give a damn what the Americans and the Indians say. And they should hear it loud and clear and cooperate against them at any cost.
So according to this report, they say that Al-Qaeda's leadership has Pakistan and Afghanistan, but it has become stronger in Yemen, Syria, Iraq,
and the U.S. State Department,
Africa.
U.S. State Department forgets to mention that they paid hundreds of millions of dollars worth of weapons to wage a rebellion in Syria and to wage a rebellion in Libya. This is now documented. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of weapons and equipment and explosives were given to Al-Qaeda, to these Takfiri Khawarij militants in Libya and right now in Syria, and by the Americans. So our message to them loud and clear is, stop fooling the world. You are actually supporting Al-Qaeda, which is destroying the Muslim world.
One thing that has happened, India has signed an agreement with Russia to supply arms and weapons to Austria as NATO troops will be evacuating. How do you see this will that affect the Afghan Taliban there once NATO evacuates?
You see, the point is, once NATO evacuates, India will not have any chance at all. Indian army is not stronger than the combined armed forces of NATO and the Americans. Afghans are going to really slaughter them there.
But don't you think that India and Russia will be the key players in Afghanistan after the NATO leaves?
Pakistan will be the key player only if we play our cards well, only if our government decides.
But don't you think that India plays cards smartly than Pakistan?
Narendra Modi, as he's coming to power in India, his parliamentarians have openly declared that their objective is to create a greater from Kabul to Thailand. And this is what they are planning. That's why they are supporting the insurgent Pakistan. That's why they are saying they are going to attack Pakistan. That's why they are infiltrating into India, because they consider Afghanistan as part of the greater India territory. And that is why you find this whole of Indians trying to get a foothold in Afghanistan behind Pakistan, support the insurgencies of TTP and BLA, and support the media group which is waging the hostile war against the very state itself and against the armed forces and ISI. So this nexus has to be broken. Pakistan wants to win this existential war. It will have to destroy the Indian presence in Afghanistan. It will have to destroy the TTP nexus. Pakistan will have to destroy BLA, and Pakistan will have to destroy the media group. If any of these axes exist, continue to exist, they will continue to subvert the very state of Pakistan. Pakistani armed forces are facing a very different kind of war, where they are not in the battlefield, but also in the television studios.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaid Hamid, that we discussed about the internal and external challenges that are faced by Pakistan today. The only way all this net of challenges is to be sincere and stay united. And that's it for tonight. See you all next Sunday. Until then, Allah Hafiz and good night.